Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine, the Resilient Mother, with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. I'm so excited for today's episode. I have a special episode with Tiffany Simms. We are both CHPCs, Certified High Performance Coaches, and we met in certification back in March. We've seen each other twice at the Growth Day conferences for coaching and the Growth Day event, and we've just been able to connect on such a great level, same synergy, when you find your people. So today we're going to talk about your mastering your own unique resilience, and we're going to bring to the table our energy and our flavor on that today. Thank you so much for being here, Tiffany. It's so fun to meet lots of people here.
I'm so excited to be here and share some nuggets with your audience and just be myself. So
perfect. And with that, tell us a little more about you.
Hi, so I'm Tiffany Simms. I help women overcome burnout without quitting their job. And I think that in this season, post that C word, that how do they say in Harry Potter? Who shall not be named. I think that it's really, really important. I think that, leading up to COVID, a lot of people were feeling this pull of burning at both ends of the stick. And then COVID happened and it was hard, but there was also this like breath of fresh air of not always having to be somewhere and spending more time at home and really focusing on hobbies and things because there was nothing else that you could do. And when the world started opening back up again, here we are, 3 years later, and people are trying to figure out this balance of how to have it all while still maintaining a piece of that like serenity that we got to experience during that time. And throughout the years, my career path has kind of ebbed and flowed, and it started in nutrition and fitness, and then it went into intuitive eating and helping people become more in tune with themselves. And now it's just kind of like helping people learn how to find harmony between their health, their relationships, and the way they earn money so that they can feel alive every single day and get off that hamster wheel. And so that's me in a nutshell.
And with that, so with what you just said, I'm really curious what your definition of resilience is.
Yeah. I would say resilience is knowing that hard feels icky and getting back up and doing it again anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that's how I felt about it until this moment, but I think it's that like ability to be like, that sucked, but I know where I'm going and I'm going to get back up and go again and again and again until I get it right and find what works for me. And I'm not going to let all of the distractions be the thing that holds me back and feed that like fear of, am I not good enough?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is a matter, especially as women, of worthiness, feeling like we're enough. We have a lot of pressure to be a lot of different things today. And I think for me, resilience has been like this transformation of living my truth and finding my truth and be able to maintain it under all circumstances. And that's still evolving as well. We were just talking, I go to these conferences and I'm like this high energy, crazy person at them. And like, I just bring everybody along with me. It's so fun. And then I'm home and trying to translate that same energy and that same truth into what I'm doing in my everyday life and in my family, because that feels right to me. That feels congruent with me. That feels aligned with me. And I think that's the beauty about what's happening is we have more permission to step into our truth and who we are and have it honored because we're our best selves and we perform the best and we are our best when our whole life has that balance that you were talking about, that harmony.
Yeah. Right? Like, I don't believe, and it's okay if you disagree with me. I personally used to seek balance, and I learned that balance doesn't exist, and I don't think that it should exist. I think that there should be harmony because there's going to be one aspect in that triangle of health, money making, and relationships that's going to need more attention at any given time. But as long as you know where you're going and you're making the choices that serve that end vision, everything kind of falls into place. And when you feel a little bit, lopsided in one area, it's like, oh, my harmony is out of balance. Let me take a snapshot look of what's going on and readjust some of my intentions and energy. And I think finding that harmony between the three, because I think in the last year, I've really realized that part of our struggle, especially here in the US, is that all of our ailments, if you will, are treated like their own little islands, and we're
Mm.
not looked at as these holistic beings. And so, like, how can your career be thriving and your family be happy and successful if your health is out of whack? Like, if you're mentally exhausted, physically struggling to tie your shoes, like mentally just drained, like, how are you able to show up and live into your family and show up for your career that provides for your family? And when your career is taking over everything and you come home and you're a shell of a person, well, you don't have the time or energy for your health and you're cranky with your kids. And when your relationships are struggling, now you're irritable with your coworkers because deep down inside, like, your heart hurts and you're eating your feel, like, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, they all need to, we need to start treating the humans as like one entire being, and less of these like individual prescriptions that we're militant about for a split second until we feel better and then go on to the next thing. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I actually love that because when I think about balance, I was a gymnast. And so every time I hear balance, I hear balance beam and falling off and getting back up and falling off and getting back up again. Versus harmony is more like being attuned, like tuning into your truth. With my music background, I'm just thinking about when things are in discord, like you can definitely hear it and you're like, "Ugh," versus things are in harmony. But you can change what those notes are. You can change what those chords are and still be in harmony within that key signature of the music. And
Yeah.
then it's like your individual song too. Like instead of balance being this very black and white thing where you meet gray in the middle somewhere, harmony has the ability to be creative and to flow and to find what works for you. And sometimes you got more bass, sometimes you got more soprano, but you still got
It's
the chord,
unique
you
to
got harmony.
you.
Yes,
Unique to
exactly.
you. Like, you and I share a lot of similarities and we've been trained in very similar ways. And I guarantee each of us took the pieces that we need that work with us to create our own masterpiece because
Yes.
we're different humans. What works for me will not exactly in the same exact structure work for you. Like, you're going to have to rearrange it just a little bit.
And that's what this month is all about, is mastering your own unique resilience, because we're all unique individuals. And I really want us to understand that we all have God-given, if you believe in God, I know I do, higher power. You have things you were born with that were meant to be your talents, the things that you give to this world. And it's important because there's somebody waiting for you to show up. And
Yes.
only you, nobody else can fulfill that role but you. So the idea that one person can make a difference. I want you to be resilient so you can be that. I want you to bounce back stronger from these times and this adversity, and spark your creativity, spark your light, and embrace the change, not be scared of the change, because everything's happening for a reason and it's leading you to who you are. I think it's no accident Tiffany and I met at all. We had the most powerful exchange in our training, and it was all about identity
Amen
as
to
well.
that. Don't judge me that I'm in my workout shorts.
Yeah, we got to
All
talk
right.
about the dress. We got to
Can
talk
I
about.
share the dress with
Oh
your
yes.
audience?
Oh
All
yes.
right. So, you know that Tiff is a certified high performance coach. Like, she lives and breathes that and shares that with you all the time. And I'm going to get emotional. I had the absolute pressure, like, pleasure of being in um, a, what do we call those? A practice session with her where we were learning a session and she happened to be the coach and I happened to be the client. And I don't exactly remember the question exactly, but we were talking about how I have all these big goals and I have all these big ideas and I know what I'm capable of and where I'm going. But for some reason, like, the day to day showing up and doing the work that it's going to take, I am so inconsistent. And I was so frustrated about the inconsistency because I can taste that future self. Like, I can taste the vision, I can see it, I can touch it, I can smell it. And Tiff asked me this, like, just such a simple question. And she asked me to close my eyes and asked me to visualize who was with me when I was successful. And that might not have been the exact question, but that's where we went with it. And when I closed my eyes, I realized it was dark and I was alone. And it was so powerful because I couldn't see myself speaking on those stages And the reason was because I was so deep down inside, I was terrified that if I became successful, everyone I loved would be gone because they don't see my vision and they don't believe in growth the way that I do. So, how can I expect myself to show up and do the hard work and the uncomfortable work every single day if deep down inside, I think that when I'm successful, I'll be alone?
Yeah.
It was such a powerful moment. And when we talked it through a little bit, after I realized that all of a sudden I could see the light, I could see the audience, and I was standing on stage, serving and giving all the value I had, and I was wearing this dress from my closet. Hold on, where's it at? And so
Love.
after our session, I went in, like we had a break, and I went in my closet and I pulled it out, and it has been sitting in my office ever since. Like, this is what I see myself talking to thousands of people on stage from. This and some really cute strappy heels. Like, this is my power dress. And I needed someone to help me see that. And that's resilience.
Mm.
That is knowing that it's going to be hard and working through the icky and the emotional and like those dark, almost ashamed and embarrassing moments. Like, who wants to admit that they think they're going to be alone? No one. But that's the work.
Yes.
Resilience is being willing to do the work to get where you're going, even when it's hard and uncomfortable and you have setbacks. So this has been in my office ever since.
And I love seeing it when I see you, because for me, that session showed me what I'm capable of as a coach. It was my first certification. I had been doing some other certifications and some different things, but was really this opportunity to serve. And I was just listening to you talk about your past self, your present self, your future self, and they weren't congruent. And that's what came to me is like, where are we going with this? I'm not even understanding. And so that's the question actually was, to meditate and can you see your future self? And you couldn't see her.
Oh, I
And then I
sobbed.
said, oh, I lost it too. And we had someone else observing in the group too. Ross, I believe, was in there. And so we had to take a minute. We had to honor that. We had to honor what you were feeling and create that safe space for you to gain that understanding of why that was the case. But you could hear her. And so you did hear her. And I'm so happy to hear how the rest of that went, because I didn't really get to know. I think we were at the end. We were getting close to the end of our time. And so I love hearing the rest of the story.
You know what's magical about that is that happened in 10 to 15 minutes.
Right.
That was a life-changing moment in 10 to 15 minutes. And it has, I mean, it carries with me all the time. And it just reminds me, and I think that the really great lesson there is that it's okay for it to be dark, and you're allowed to rewrite the story you tell yourself.
Absolutely.
The stories that you believe about yourself and your future self, you get to rewrite them at any given moment. And that's what we did in that moment. Was I rewrote the story, but it took being able to be uncomfortable and be seen while being vulnerable in order to realize what was really going on. And that was something that I had been struggling with for like 8-9 months.
Mm.
And in that one conversation, just pure magic.
And that's what I love about like gain a resilient identity. That was one session, 1 month that we did this year, was stepping into that resilient identity of who you are and knowing your truth. And I really believe a good coach can see you and honor you, but love you too much to leave you that way. And when you have a coach like that, and I've experienced that in our group as well, of someone who could just hold that space of loving you enough to let you see your own potential, to see that there's more. But I love how you talked about going dark, because I think sometimes people take resilience or coaching and it's just push, push, push. Okay, did you do your workout today? Did you do that today? Did you do the things that you said you were going to do today? No, the kind of coaching we're talking about goes deep. It goes down into those places. Now, it's not trauma work. Let's distinguish that.
Yeah, no.
If you're not uncomfortable and you're not addressing the things that are not that are holding you back, how can you break through them? Like, you have to be willing to go there with people, and you have to be willing to go there yourself. You have to create that level of awareness, because if you weren't aware enough in that moment, that question wouldn't have landed the way that it was. Like it just wouldn't have had the same, like you were ready. And
I
so
wanted
that,
it. I wanted the clarity moment, right? And I love what you just said. And I'm not even going to try to paraphrase it because that your paraphrase is gone. But what I heard was, it's not about militant discipline compliance
Mhm.
because anyone can force themselves to show up for a workout and to eat a certain way if they're disciplined enough. But discipline and motivation can only take you so far. Like you
Yes.
truly do have to be resilient for wanting a different outcome and going back into the not trying to find the perfect plan and the perfect answer and what's working for everyone else, but really learning what is best for me to get where I'm going. And
Absolutely.
that's the work. That's
And I
work.
love that that's the work that you do with your triangle and that system as well of finding the
That's how it
harmony.
becomes sustainable. It's how it becomes your identity.
Mhm.
It's why
Absolutely.
so many people go on a diet and do fairly well and then gain that plus 10 more pounds. And it's because they didn't change their core autopilot programming. So when things got hard, they went right back to the habits that they had that got them in the body and the life that made them unhappy and miserable to begin with.
Yes.
And, you know, I don't exactly remember exactly what you were saying before, but I was sitting here holding my heart because what you said, I felt it in my core. Part of me coming into this career path was that I was on a mission to heal the nation's relationship with food and exercise because I was so frustrated with the diet industry. It's $1 trillion industry, yet people have been dieting since before the 60s, but yet we haven't fixed anything and people are as unhealthy as ever. And so I had a moment, it was like, as Brendan talks about, it was the line of demarcation. It was that line in the sand of either you stop complaining and accept this is how it is, or you do something about it. So I
Mhm.
decided that I was going to go change it. And part of that was I truly believe that when women are able to free that mental space that is being consumed by what they did or didn't eat, how much they did or didn't work out, by how they let everyone down or serve people, even though it wasn't theirs to say yes to, they were supposed to say no to something. When we can free women's brains from all of that baggage, then they can truly live into the purpose of their unique gifts that they were put on this planet that only they can serve to this world. In that, as dramatic as this is going to sound, but that's how we save humanity. I truly believe that when women can let go of that baggage and tune back inside within themselves and become their most authentic selves, that's how humanity is going to be saved. That's how we save the world. And that evolved into how I was saying I help women with burnout because it all comes together.
And we need
That
more
was
examples of that. So you stepping into it gives other people permission to step into it. And we may seem out here like, oh, you guys are coaches and you've invested this and
blah,
you're doing
blah, 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 blah.
you. I live in Idaho. I'm in a townhome with my 3 kids. Like I live a very simple life. I'm not the one with the Ferrari and the fancy clothes and that's not what it's about. It's where I'm at right now and what my truth is. Do I believe there's more for me someday? Sure, but it's not about those external validations. It's about doing the work of the inner work with people. For me, it's about changing who you are at your core so that no matter what circumstance you are thrown into, you're going to be resilient in your truth and you're going to live it and you're going to stay in it. And you can't be measuring yourself or your happiness or when you've arrived by something outside of yourself because only you're going to know when it lands. Only you're going to know when it's right. And that just may look different than someone else. Embrace it instead of be scared of it. You don't have to be like anyone else. I really like the saying, and I've shared another one before, but it's like, if the only flavor of ice cream was vanilla, how boring would that be? Dude, I love chocolate. I love
I'm a
like
mint chocolate chip
flavors.
girl when I'm
Yeah.
ready for 28. Dairy and I don't get along, but mint chocolate chip, hands down, will get every time.
And so we're meant to embrace the variety and spice of life of each other, but we need so much more of that as well. And that will save us too, because we're going to realize we're more alike than we are different. When we all try to fit into this black and white version of what we should or should not be, it divides us because it doesn't give room for the variety. It doesn't give room for the different colors and the different shades and the different aspects of people's light and who they are. We're much more in harmony, as you talked about, when we're all playing our own instrument in the orchestra, when we're all shining our different star in the sky, and we're not all concentrated in one place or another. And I would love to see more people, especially women, embrace that. So what you do in your work, avoiding burnout, is different than someone else. Someone else can handle more of a workload. Someone else is also in a different season of life than you are. And so those seasons are different. I'm in the season of mother and doing different things and setting up a business. And then we know other people that are very successful doing it all. But embrace where you're at right now, I think is a key for a lot of it. And allowing yourself to be enough. My whole journey started with self-compassion. I don't know if it was for you, but like that was a huge lesson for me, is that it all starts with self-love and self-compassion. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Actually, what a great question and a great segue, because I was sitting here and I was reminded of my own story a little bit while we were talking. And for a second, I just want to talk to the woman who is listening, who's saying, but that's not me. I'm not resilient. I don't have those qualities. I'm living, every day by the seat of my pants, and I feel like someone's dragging me out of a dumpster fire. I'm just surviving. Like, that's the person I want to talk to for a second. Because if you had come and met me 10 years ago, I was someone who was struggling with my own identity, learning how to step into my leadership powers that I didn't believe that I possessed, because everyone had always counted me out. And the first time someone asked me to write, I had such a great boss at one time, and truly the reason how I got where I am, because he saw something in me that no one else told me about. And I got to start seeing myself through a different lens. And he asked me one day to write down the words that describe me. And as ironic as this conversation is, out of nowhere, one of the words that I wrote down was resilient. Isn't that funny? And for me at that time, resilience, the resilient piece was knowing that here I was, 25, 30 years old in that time frame, and knowing that I had to work my butt off for every B and C I got in school. That in high school, all the teachers told my mom I wasn't going to amount to anything because I wasn't focused. I wasn't doing well in school. Like, she's getting all this tutoring, but it's not clicking. And then when I got into college, at first, when I applied for college, I didn't get accepted. And I drove my butt down to the school and sat in the in the acceptance office, admissions office, and asked them what I needed to do to come to school there. And that resilience, that tenacity, that I understand I'm not the best student, but I try really hard, got me into college because they saw something in me, which was, this girl's going to work. And in college, when I struggled to maintain almost straight C's at one point, because learning was not easy for me, I worked so hard for C's. And just constantly putting myself in the ring, even when everyone, including my professors, had counted me out. That's resilience. And in those moments when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you don't know, you're surviving. And so I really encourage you to look back, because you have a whole resume of life that got you to this moment, got you still here, breathing, getting through each and every day. And so I really encourage you to look back over your life and find those moments where you were resilient and people had counted you out and it was hard and you got back up and did it anyway, because those are the moments that define you, not all the other ones. And so pull from that and allow that to be okay, that was hard and I survived, and this is where I got, I can keep doing this.
Yes.
What a
Absolutely.
tangent, but I felt oh my God, I felt that in my core for a second.
That resonates with me so much. I think there are people that are on the verge of wanting to give up. I mean, that's really what you're saying. That's not for me. That's not going to happen for me. I can't change. No. You got two women here and many on this podcast that can tell you can change it. You are not a slave to your past. You're not a slave to the expectations put on you or anyone else's opinion. You get to decide who you are. You get to decide today if you're resilient. You get to decide today to live your truth. You can change and you can do it, because if we've done it, so can you. And is our lives totally perfect? We're going to be vulnerable and authentic here. Our lives are so not perfect. I mean, you should have heard our conversation before we started. So
it's so hard. And I remind myself that hard is such a gift, and that I knew that my goals were going to be hard. And when it's uncomfortable, that this, reminding myself, you knew this was going to be hard, and this is what hard and uncomfortable feels like. Take the next step.
Yes.
I think that so often, especially when people see you and I on social media and online and in our emails and all that stuff, it's like, oh, it must be nice for them, because we lead from the positive energy. We lead from the growth and the future solution oriented selves. And we accept that all the hard days behind the scenes is just part of the thing. Like, there's no point in griping about it. There's no point in like, woe is me. Like, that's part of the journey. And because so many people don't get to see that, or choose not to see it when we are vulnerable and share, that they count themselves out because their life doesn't look like that.
No, I love that phrase. Yeah, don't count yourself out. No. Don't.
Know that it's messy.
And
know that it's messy for everyone.
And know someone's waiting for you. Someone is waiting for you to show up. That's the biggest thing that I've learned in our interaction. That just happenstance that we're in that same room. It really proved to me that the things that are really speaking to you are speaking to you for a reason. And you really need to trust that. And you also need to trust who comes in your path. You need to know that there is a reason this person has come into your life, or into that Zoom room, or into your life, and that you have the opportunity to serve. And if we could start
listening, if you're still listening at this point in this conversation, like, there is something deep down inside of you stirring, let it free. Like, listen to it, hear what that whisper is, and lean into it instead of away from it.
And if you want help with that, we recommend you get a coach. Create a community, or find a friend. Keep the people around you that also help you stay in that mindset. I mean, that's a huge thing too. You've got to let go of the people and the things in your life that are not moving you in that direction. And that may mean
it's really okay to love and bless and release the things that are no longer a part of this season of your life. That doesn't make you a bad person.
Absolutely. I love this conversation. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime. And so I guess overall, we're just saying, if you think resilience isn't for you, it really is. It's just a choice. And if we can choose it, you can choose it as well. And thank you, Tiffany, for being on here today. I love that we got to share our story and how we met, and just let it be a testament to life is happening for you. It's not always easy, but that's the point. It means it's time for you to grow. If you're getting adversity, you're probably on the right track. It's just making you stronger. So keep going. Don't give up. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming, as Dory would say. Just keep swimming. That's like
swim. Our Mickey ears for that.
Yes, we're Disney people. We had to have a good Disney reference somewhere in there. So, a dream is your wish. Your
Mickey Mouse shirt on today.
Yeah. Oh, Tiffany, where can they find you? What are you up to? If you want to work with me, where do we find you?
I think the best way to get in contact with me and to connect is if you're the person who's always saying, when I have time, when Christmas break comes, when summer comes, when the schedules calm down, if I just had 30 minutes to myself, I could make some goals. I could reach some goals and do some things. If you're always waiting for the time, I think the best way for us to connect is for you to go onto Instagram and DM me the word time, TIME. I have a really great time hack guide that has 3 time hacks to help you get an hour back in your schedule as soon as tomorrow. It's super powerful. It's really good. And so all you got to do is at the Tiffany Simms and DM me the word time, and I will send it over to you.
Awesome. And we all want our health, our time, and our freedom. So there's a step in the right direction to resilience. So I would take advantage of that. All right. Thank you for being here. I love this audience. We appreciate you. Reach out to us. We are more than happy to cheer you on, as you can see with our energy. So feel free to reach out if you need some of that. We'll give it to you. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.